Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video. I am going to be doing a really quick and simple page in the small craft journal using this face, which is from one of Dina's transparency packs, the one that's got all the faces in it. So this one fits perfectly onto a page of the small craft journal, and you can see here I've kind of cut it out, and what I'm doing here is holding it in place where I want it to be and roughly sketching out where the outline of the face is going to be. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to add paint around the outside before I stick the face back on. And I realise you can't actually see where I've marked very clearly, but once the paint starts going on, you will be able to see where those marks are. If you notice as well, the face on the transparency, I had flipped it over and just coloured in the white of the eye as well. So, of course, I'm using the usual rainbow colours. So I've gone in with ruby, tangelo. I'm also using one of Dina's new brushes. I think it's the size 20. Lovely soft tip brushes, very nice, very easy to use. And I am washing my brush in between each colour. So I've gone ruby, tangelo, lemon, lime, turquoise, then I use magenta and then orchid. Dina's colours are so fabulous for doing these rainbow pages. The colours are just so bright and they do blend so nicely into each other with them being that kind of heavy body acrylic. It's they're just so lovely to use. So then once I just checked that the image still fit into the space that was left, it did. It was perfect, a perfect fit. I'm then using this stencil from Dina, which is angled paint blobs, and I'm going in with some white paint over the top. So the reason for the white paint is just to just calm that rainbow down a little bit. I don't want to calm it down too much. So what I usually do is I kind of blend my sponge over the stencil. I kind of smoosh it around so that I get a bit of a thin layer of paint, and then I dab it on so that in some places the paint is a little bit more opaque, and then that way just gives a little bit more interest in the stenciling. So you can see I'm just going in two places. Unusual for me not to do three, but yeah, two. I didn't want to overdo it. So then once I've done that, I'm then using the Done is Better stencil, and I've got some blackberry paint. I'm just going to mix that in with the white that's left on my glass mat there. You can see I didn't change my sponge, and I'm going to put the stencil on here, and I'm only going to stencil where the paint is. So I'm keeping the stenciling on top of those rainbow colours. I'm just going in and adding a little bit of text onto the page too. And that just has the effect of breaking up that background a little bit more. It's got a bit more interest. It's nice to have a little bit of text on a page. It's something that I really do like to do. Yeah, that's working quite well so far. So then I'm just using a text stamp. Actually, I think it's got numbers on it. I felt that the background behind the face was a little bit plain, but I didn't want to do too much where the actual facial features were going to be. So I felt that just adding a little bit of stamping onto the bottom of the page was a really good way to just bring a bit more interest to the bottom part of the page where the transparency is going to go. So I'm using black archival ink and this little stamp that I think it might be a Stampers Anonymous one. It's quite an old one. And it's like I say, it's just got numbers on, almost like a typewriter type of font. And I'm just adding in lots of stamping, overlapping it in some places. I'm just not worrying. Some of it's a bit wonky. It doesn't really matter. It's all good. So once that was dry, then just trying that face back in place just to see how it works, and yeah, it's working okay. It's kind of got the effect that I wanted. And this, you can see, it really is quite a simple quick page. So then I've just decided that I wanted to cut a little bit more of the transparency away, but without losing the lines on the image. I love the way Dina draws these faces. They're so free. Yeah, they're not kind of tight drawings at all. And I love how they look. So then I'm holding that in place. I'm using the Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, just adding a few staples in place just to keep that where I want it to be. You notice I've also added a highlight down the bridge of the nose. And yeah, this page is starting to come together. So then I'm just going in and adding a few more highlights, one on the bottom lip, a little bit more on the nose. I'm sorry about the glare of the light on the transparency. I didn't realise that was quite as bad as that. Yeah, you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going in and just adding 1 or 2 highlights onto the face. And then it was quote time. So I am using the Dina Wakley ledger papers, and I've just found a quote that fits really nicely with my thoughts for that day, how I was feeling. There's always, I don't know how it is, but it doesn't kind of matter which pack I get hold of. There is always one that will leap out at me and I'll be like, yep, that's the one I want to use today. And I like to kind of work a bit like that if I'm not sure, if I don't have an absolute definite thought about what words I want to use on my page. Those ledger papers are just a fantastic way to find something that really speaks to you in that moment. So I've just cut the quote up and I'm going to stick it in place. I'm going to use my fine tip applicator bottle with the clear glue in to stick that down. It means I don't have to faff about with the glue stick and get the glue absolutely everywhere. Then, of course, it's time for the signature dots. It's got to be, hasn't it? So I'm just adding these in 3 places on my page. So kind of the bottom where the image meets the bottom of the page, and a little bit at the top just to balance it up. I'm going in with my Posca pen to start off with, and then I'll be using the Signo Uniball as well. If you manage to get hold of one of my my latest release, my first release of stamps, there is obviously the stamp in there with the dots on, which you could just as quickly use to stamp some dots on your page as well. And then last but not least, I am going in with my neon pink Posca pen. I'm adding a heart onto the cheek and just a couple of marks on the page as well, just using the nib of the pen just to create some marks on the page. Using a pop of neon is a lovely way to just bring a page to life towards the end when you've pretty much nearly finished. And there we go. So this is a really simple, quick page using the craft behind as the accent to really showcase that face with the rainbow colours behind. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this page. It's given you lots of ideas. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.